Well, hey, everyone. TexAgs Rewind. David Nuno here on a Friday, and we got a busy show today. I really liked having Clint Stoerner on the show from Sportsradio 610 in Houston, but also used to be the quarterback at Arkansas and the Dallas Cowboys. He had a couple games there that he got to play. But Stoerner broke down Bobby Petrino. As an Arkansas guy, he got to know that coaching philosophy well, and while he's not a huge fan of Petrino because of what happened at Arkansas, he says that guy can flat out coach, and it's going to be a big home run hire for Texas A&M. So we did talk about that. We talked a lot with Olin Buchanan about everything you can imagine in college football. TCU, can they win the Natty? We talked to an insider about that. And also we ran around college football with our friend Aaron Torres. So much to get into, so little time. It is the TexAgs Rewind.
Well, for TCU, I think it means more for college football and the little guys of college football than it does for TCU.
Yeah.
I think what it means is if TCU wins, I think it's already this is the case, but it just reinforces if TCU wins, is that the high and mighty of college football that's always the selections committees that always are going to lean toward the establishment, the blue bloods or whatever, and always give them the first consideration. They have to check themselves.
Yep.
And I remember when TCU won the Rose Bowl over Wisconsin like 10 years ago, and before the game, that dipstick Gordon Gee, who was the president of the Ohio State at the time, started acting like he knew football. And he said, "Oh, we're playing Little Sisters of the Poor," and then TCU went out and kicked your butt. I think if TCU can do it again and win, that everybody has to take a step back and say, you know what, we can't just always assume that like they do now, like they did with A&M 2 years ago, that the establishment is always going to win. Because look what TCU just did. We got to take a closer look and start considering, maybe these guys that we're always pumping up aren't always the best teams. And if Georgia wins, look, I think Kirby might be on his way to starting his own dynasty. Like
would it
Saban
be
did.
because he's how many national championships has he been to now? 5?
As a head coach?
He lost twice in the national championship game, right?
I want to say that's correct. I know.
Okay, so this will be his 4th.
Yeah.
4th.
So
that's pretty good. And win 2 of those?
Yeah. So and I don't even know how old Kirby is. He doesn't look very old.
No, he doesn't look old at all. Yeah.
And he's in a state as the only real legitimate. I know Georgia Tech's there. Only real legitimate big time school in a big time talent producing state. I mean, he could be a guy, quite frankly, that could break Saban's record for national championships someday.
It's coming up on Monday, so just take me through the emotions from that game the other night that, 6 days ago, how 2 pick sixes, the scoring, everything. Just take me through it.
Well, first of all, that environment it felt completely different than any other sporting event that I've been to in my life, even from the start of the game, just the anticipation, the intensity of both fan bases. I mean, before we got in probably 30 minutes before kickoff, and the concourse was just rowdy. It was loud. It was the energy was unmatched in that stadium. But the game itself, I thought TCU could win, and I said what needed to happen. I said we're going to need to force JJ to turn over, make him comfortable, all that. But I was not expecting that kind of game whatsoever. I told people if TCU scores 40 points, they're going to win that game. Well, they needed 47. So it was truly one for the age. I believe everyone who was at that game got their value of ticket and then some. Student sections are both crazy. I thought both coaches called a good game, and in the grand scheme of things, I don't know about the 4th and goal Philly special call, but other than that, it was a well-called game. And I'm glad the Horned Frogs are going to come out on top.
Austin, how much? Look, teams don't need extra motivation. That's obvious. And all season long, TCU has played as underdogs. All they do is keep winning. But how much extra motivation did J.J. McCarthy's comments and everything being said out there from the Michigan side add to this game and the environment?
Well, I'll tell you what really got them motivated. Everyone knows what JJ said, but there were I found out from some people within the program about an episode that happened, I believe, 2 nights before the game. There was a dinner with the coaches that put on by the Fiesta Bowl, and it was supposed to be each position coach and their spouses, and you're supposed to eat with your respective coach. So wide receiver coach for TCU would be with the Michigan wide receiver coach and their respective partners. And TCU got there, and it was only Jim Harbaugh and the spouses. None of the coaches were there. Jim Harbaugh said that his staff wasn't here to be on vacation, that they were there to win. And then he apparently made some not very respectful comments to the TCU coaching staff about what his thoughts would be on the game. Didn't shake anybody's hand. So that really riled up the coaches in the fact that, okay, well, we know what your quarterback's saying, but now we know that's not just your quarterback who has that mentality. So I think that one really pushed the coaches to coach extra hard, call an extra good game, and it proved to be just what the Frogs needed.
Absolutely, 100%. I think I've said this from jump. You and I have talked about it every time we've talked about A&M on the radio in Houston. It's been about really one thing, but you can say two with how bad the offense had been and Jimbo's need to hire an offensive coordinator. And I was passionate about it. I just believe A&M was very beatable for one reason, and it was that offense. And it became very evident early on this year that I thought the fix was not to fire Jimbo. The fix was not to recruit better. Hell, you can't do that. The facilities are through the roof. The fix was to go get an offensive coordinator, hand the reins over to that offensive coordinator, and you be essentially the CEO of A&M football, and that being Jimbo, right? And at the time, Tyler Milner is our producer in Houston. He's an Aggie grad, 12th man, if you will. I don't know if that was correct the way I worded that. I hope Tyler doesn't mind. But hey, David, the first time I talked to him, I said, man, they need to go get Bobby. I mean, your Bobby Petrino is a guy that had he not had the problems in the past, he wouldn't even be available, right? He'd be a head coach in Power 5 somewhere at a bigger program than where he had success at Arkansas and where he had success at Louisville. So he's available for a reason, and it's not because of what he can do schematically, creatively, and the timing of his play calling in games is off the charts as well, man. This is a huge gift for Jimbo Fisher in Aggie football. I'll tell you this, and I'm not. Let me tell you, Bobby. I need an apology from Bobby Petrino from what he did at Arkansas. There's one time in my life there's been a pit in my stomach when I topped that hill in Fayetteville, and it's after what happened with Bobby Petrino. I needed an apology. What I'm saying is I'm not real fond of Bobby the man. I'm not real fond of what Bobby did at Arkansas. But there's no denying what the guy is offensively, and that is precisely what A&M needs.
Yeah, I think there's a few layers to it. I mean, one, I do think they've earned their way in. I think you could actually argue that the Big 12, top to bottom, was maybe the most competitive conference in college football this past year. And I think it maybe showed in that Michigan game where TCU was just like, yeah, we've been in these games. We're up, we're down, we're this, we're that. It doesn't really matter. Whether we're up 10 or we're down 10, we know it's probably going to come down to the final play. Where Michigan, let's be honest, they played a lot of Rutgers and Indianas and Nebraskas in games that weren't competitive. But what I'd also say is I think the TCU story is bigger, and maybe you can combine it with an LSU, with a USC, of the new world of college football that we're in, where if you get the right coach and you hit on the right pieces in the portal, and they didn't even have the roster overhaul that I think USC did and LSU did in terms of sheer numbers, but you get the right pieces, and there's luck involved, no doubt. I just think it's probably a glimmer of hope for a lot of programs where, I saw Auburn hit a bunch of portal kids over the last couple of days on top of the ones that they hit before Christmas, where now maybe that program has a degree of excitement going into next year that maybe they can turn things around pretty quickly. Not saying they're going to make a playoff, not saying they're going to win the SEC West, nothing like that, but they won't be embarrassing themselves every time they step on the field. Same with Nebraska. Same, by the way, with Texas A&M, where, you clean up a few things in the portal here. You hit on the right offensive coordinator, as you just said, Dave. Maybe 5-7 becomes 10-2 really quick. So I actually think everybody should be looking at TCU in a glasses half full way. The only people that probably shouldn't be looking at it is coaches that now all of a sudden don't have an excuse for 2 or 3 years to kind of drag their feet. You got to get it going. But from a fan's perspective, I think there's got to be optimism of, hey, if we get this right, we can actually turn this thing around pretty quickly.
All right, my friends, you know what to do. Comment below, especially the ones that have nice things to say. We like those the best. The mean ones, we read them. We Google you. We find out stuff about you. But other than that, it's all good. Like, comment, subscribe. Yes, Nick? I heard you breathing.
Sorry, probably should have muted the mic.
It's
Embarrassing.
Okay. You're allowed to breathe. Breathing's allowed. Feel like you're part of the show. It's TexAgs Rewind. We'll see you next time.